Coming to you live from a quiet, serene place of solitude, where the ills of modern life are nowhere to be seen or heard, and your only sense is one of peaceful gratitude. It's a perfect place for shitting, and a perfect place for interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. That's right, it's the Rick and Morty podcast. I am your host, Brandon Cruz, and if you're following us in the stream, you might notice that Travis Menard is eating a pickle, sitting on a portal of his own making. He doesn't make his own pickles, but he's actually in Orlando, Florida, visiting Walt Disney World. Yes, Walt Disney World, the company that will eventually take over Adult Swim and make Rick and Morty fight Mickey to the death. I am your host, Brandon Cruz. Travis is not here. So let's get through some social media real quick. You can follow us over on RickandMortyPodcast.reddit.com, RickandMorty.reddit.com. We're on Twitter, of course, Twitter.com/RickandMortyPod, www.RickandMortyPod.com, www.Facebook.com/RickandMortyPodcast. Not sure if you knew that was a thing. You can send us an email. We would love to have your email. That is rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. You can, of course, watch this video and many more over at youtube.com/apatheticenthusiasm or twitch.tv/apatheticenthusiasm. If you want to support us money-wise, TeePublic or Patreon. I'm not going to go in there because I, hate having to hawk our wares so much. Today is a very special day. We are here to talk about, I am here to talk about episode 2 of season 4, The Old Man and the Seat. Yes, Old Man and the Seat. But before we get into that, usually Travis says something to me. He usually says something funny, and then I laugh at it. And then things happen, and then I think I missed the transition. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And then what happens is he says, "Brandon, it's time for semi-pertinent news." Then I do a song. I do a funny song. I go, hey, that's right. It's semi-pertinent news. Let's go ahead and get this started. First up in semi-pertinent news, I had hit up Cryptozoic a little bit ago. They released the Morty Zone, the Season 4 Episode 1 tie-in game, which turns out they sent us a copy, and I was able to play it with my wife and child, who is a 7-year-old boy, and it is a really, really fun game. It is basically Yahtzee. So if you've seen the first episode of Season 4, Edge of Tomorty, Rick Die, Rick Pete, you know that it's all about Morty trying to end up with Jessica. Well, this game is a lot like Yahtzee in the sense that you're rolling dice, you're matching colored dice, trying to get numbers, trying to fill them up, trying to beat the other people. There's some cards, there's some Smith family stuff. It is actually a really fun game, really easy to play. And if you want to know more, head over to cryptozoic.com. You can find out more about that game there. The Morty Zone, which again, trivia, is what the episode was originally called. And if you look in the instruction booklet for the Morty Zone, it says Morty Zone all over the place. Okay, next up, in semi-pertinent news, it is the Adult Swim Festival with our friend Daniel, aka Scary Terry Folds. He was the man on the street there at the Adult Swim Festival. He made some amazing cosplay action. He was a Pleasure Chamber Rick on day 2. He had the whole garb and the Rick mask. He looked great, looked fantastic. I actually got a chance to talk to him. I talked to him on the phone, and he told me all about his adventures there. I've got a little bit of that interview, but what I want to do is just mainly mention that he was pulled up on stage with old Eric Andre for a ranch chugging competition, and one of 3 people. He won a ranch chugging competition, And if you go to his Twitter over at Scary Terryfold, you will see him triumphantly reaching up into the air in his Pleasure Chamber Rick costume with ranch just dripping out of his mouth. It is wonderful. So happy for him. So proud of him. And I talked to him a little bit on the phone and have a little bit of a recording of that with him.
Excellent Adult Swim Festival. Way better venue. Death Clock and Eric Andre were my highlights. Loved the people. Loved everything. Oh, they had Pocket Morty stuff there. They were giving away a bunch of plushies. I got Chase and myself a hat that has like a Wendy Morty on it.
Oh yeah,
She's like Wendy's thing. Yeah, I got that, and I got this like One True Morty pin. Got a bunch of sweaters and jackets, and yeah, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun
and experiences. So
yeah, made a lot of friends. Almost showed Justin Roiland in my room. I'll get him next time. Be like, hey, listen, motherfucker, you gotta see this real quick.
I'm just gonna keep tagging Justin with you and be like, huh? Here he is, huh?
Hey, remember him? He's still here. He's still trying.
Yeah. If Travis was here, I would re-emphasize just how great Daniel is. So lucky. He met Justin last year. Justin remembered him. He met Justin's parents last year. Yeah, he deserves everything he get. He talked to Randall from the Rickmobile as well. They talked about us in the show, which is so completely flattering. Two great guys. Thank you so much, Daniel, for the time that you spent with me, and thanks for listening to the show. Also, there's extra stuff about him like losing stuff, losing some of his Rick and Morty merch, and then some woman lying about having a piece of his merch, his piece of his homemade merch, and then her coming back later and it's like, oh, I found this in the Lost and Found. Ha 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 ha. Him knowing she's lying and her getting karmic retribution somewhere down the line. Okay. Next up, it is, as they say, I have to do more music. Travis, it's time for the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. It's Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. When you, Travis, got a minute, you're in Florida, not here with me. It's a Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. Okay. This was a really easy one to choose. It was a collection of Instagram posts with old Rob Schraub talking about more B-story generation. This was the easiest one for me to set up while Travis was gone. So highlights: Lady with Ice Cream Lips. Morty teams up with Cap'n Crunch, which it didn't say with or without crunch berries. I think that's an important note to determine. And then Portal Combat, which I feel like I've seen that one before, but I would love to see Portal Combat. And then finally, Roofers and Booters, to which Dan Harmon said, there's no wrong answers, I guess. So there you go. That's your Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. And that was your semi-pertinent news. Semi-pertinent news. Okay. And every episode we bring you semi-pertinent news. But this episode, we're doing something a little bit different. I already brought you semi-pertinent news. We're actually going to move on to the main thing. M-A-A-N thing. M-A-A-N thing. That's right. It's the main thing. Tonight, Season 4, Episode 2, The Old Man and the Seat. This is the second episode of Season 4. Long awaited. Directed by Jacob Hare. It was written by Michael Waldron, who we have a link to his Twitter out on our show notes. Aired yesterday, November 17th. Guest stars, four major guest stars: Taika Waititi of Thor Ragnarok fame, Kathleen Turner, Sam Neill, old Jurassic Park man himself, and if you watch Westworld, you might recognize a little man or big man called a fairly average man, Jeffrey Wright. That's right. He was also one of the guest stars. Uh, Here's our Bronopsis, as brought to you by Adult Swim. We all have one thing in common, bruh. I don't know. Watch this one, bruh. There you go. There's your Bronopsis. Insert sound drop there. Just kidding. I don't have sound drops. But really, that's the Bronopsis. Our synopsis, very, very succinct. You've got to be shitting us, Rick. By the way, Jerry develops an app with Gluty, even though he's told not to. Do not develop an app, Rick, Jerry. Do not do it. I don't know why you're doing it. Overall, this episode, I'm not as much of a fan of this one as I was the season premiere for a few different reasons. I prefer the kind of like sci-fi, kind of high concept sci-fi stuff. Although I do appreciate this one doing a bit more of character kind of development, especially with Rick, Morty, Jerry, Beth, Summer. That's not much of development there that we haven't seen before, but with Rick going in kind of a different direction and finding out more about him. So, just going down the discussion, I want to start off with a comment to the post discussion thread on the Rick and Morty subreddit by a Rich Astley, the user Rich Astley, and here's what Rich Astley writes. It's about relationships, and he writes, "Relationships. I'm in awe at how much they said on the topic in less than 30 minutes. The dating app revealed how desperate we are for them, how quick we're to discard them, and the hollow feel in the ones that have superficial meaning. Beth was an overbearing parent, and Jerry wanted to be Morty's friend. Different approaches to the parental relationship revealing that it's the perfect combined mixture that works. Even the gangster fly did not care about one child, but half of his children changed his mind." That 470,000, which by the way is not, it's more than half of 800, but whatever. Also, Rick finding out that one of his most private spaces has been shared with one other individual. The lengths he traverses from feeling threatened from an enemy, gaining a friend, to loss was galactic. And all because he was a shy pooper. And Rich Astley finishes up with "fuck you, Summer," sticking with that whole let's beat the shit out of Summer this season kind of mentality. Amazing. That's the last thing he said was amazing. And I picked that because basically Rich Astley nails everything I felt about the episode in just a succinct way. Really dug it. The episode, to me, captured I wrote these all in the show notes. Family dynamics, talking about friendship. There's a significance of Old Man in the Seat to Old Man in the Sea, the Ernest Hemingway story, and I just really like that they Rich Astley emphasized the relationship pieces. So going a little bit further, talking about the family dynamics, I'll go with Beth and Summer to start. The episode last season, in season 3, where Beth and Summer, they get huge, and then they have this weird like inside this huge mother-daughter fight, and then eventually Morty takes out what's that dude's name? Seth. I just want to say Seth because Seth is kind of a name you want to punch in the face. A name has a face. But Beth and Summer, they build upon their mother-daughter relationship in that episode. In this one, we see more that Beth doesn't want Summer to make such rash, dumb decisions. And you can almost think about Beth marrying Jerry and how that ended basically her dreams and aspirations. We go back to interdimensional cable or Rick's D Minutes in the first season, and you see how Beth she had her ideal life in one version of Beth, and how unhappy she ended up actually being, right? So I think I think this is an extension of kind of that theme between them. And Summer being Summer and being a teenager, an underage teenager, and just doing what she wants, just being suckered into this app. The Jerry and Morty dynamic, hey, it's a little bit different here. I mean, it's a little bit different. No, it's the same. Jerry and Morty talking shit about his dad, going back to the season 1 Pluto episode, just not respecting his dad at all. And really, why should he respect Jerry? Jerry's kickstarting this whole negative piece of the B plot by developing Glute's app. Why does he develop Glute app? He just wants validation. Jerry wants validation. Morty doesn't care. He's just, in some ways, he's becoming more of a Rick, just savage. I forget the exact quote, but him just berating his dad, Jerry saying, "Is that it?" And Morty saying, "Yeah, you're a piece of trash, and I hate you." All right, excuse me on that. Make a note on coughing at 21 minutes. Whee! Okay. Cough. I'm coughing. Also, I'm recording this by myself, live. Travis, you're there. Keep helping me out. Okay. Beep, bop, bop, beep, bop, ba, ba. Skibbity, bip, bip, boo. Oh, where did my show notes go? There's my show notes. All right. Moving on to the next little bit. Finally, this is the most pertinent one of the entire episode to me. Travis, you can jump in if you want. Just kidding, you're not here. It is Rick and Tony. The whole piece of Rick finding the serenity on a toilet by himself was a great way to just kind of kickstart and start exploring this bigger aspect of Rick's psyche. If you watch the after the episode airs, it shows you the inside the episode. Harmon's there. Michael Waldron, the writer, he talks a little bit about this. And then on the Adult Swim Companion podcast, they talk about this a little bit too, where in the script, they actually go deeper into the reasons that Rick needs this space by himself, and that this Tony character really latches into this aspect of Rick having lost something, just as Tony has lost his wife. And that whole dynamic goes into the part that I want to talk about, which was friendship, in that Rick doesn't really have any friends, right? He's lost all of his friends. He's lost Bird Person. We know him now to be Phoenix Person. Rick, I don't know, knows that is a thing yet. We haven't seen Squanchy since the Wedding Squanchers episode. And those are the only two. Well, Mr. Poopy Butthole, I guess we can consider that. But Mr. Poopy Butthole, you could also say, has now a family, and he's kind of out of the picture, so to speak. So Rick doesn't have anybody to talk to. He doesn't have the Flesh Curtains, his band, so to speak. And the whole time I'm watching this episode, I'm thinking of Rick kind of pushing against Tony's saying, "I'm going to be your friend." No, I'm gonna kill you. No, I'm gonna be your friend. And what it must have been like for, well, I mean, we don't know, but when was starting to become friends with Squanchy or Bird Person, or even meeting Gearhead, right? At some point in time in his past, what was that like? Was he so resistant back then to accepting new people into his life? Was he already affected by this big kind of catalyst in his past that makes him so distant from folks? Uh, that's something I would like to see moving forward. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, Travis, by the way, is in the stream, and he's saying things. They take vacations with their family. Okay. Um, Tony's Heaven. That's cool. Lieutenant QR code. That's a thing that is actually a link you can go to there. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then that's about that's about it with that. Oh, this is off the rails now. I should do some editing. Okay. What I want to do is I want to switch gears. I want to switch gearheads, and I want to bring in Travis Menard to do something we like to call our favorite bits right now. And okay, all right, Travis, let's go with our favorite bits.
You guys, I'm here to talk about bits.
Little bits. All right, Travis, what's your first favorite bit?
All right, so the first thing that really cracked me up was when Rick was trying to figure out who used his private toilet. And he had an intricate system that analyzed each poop, and he was able to find the one distinct different one that led him on the wild goose chase to find the alleged pooper.
The detective, he's on the case. Detective Rick.
The deuce detective.
Perfect. Okay. I guess since we're shirking tradition here on the show, why don't you keep going with your next bit?
All right. So another one of my favorite things is something that appears in the background as Jerry is launching his app, and it includes Jerry's other ideas for apps. Some of those include Cupider, Who Got the Love, but my favorite is Meat Lovers, spelled MEET Lovers. That seems like the most Jerry of ideas.
Who Got the Love? That's my
favorite.
Favorite.
Who Got the Love with a Z and a V.
That's so fantastic. What I really like is that the dating website is a real thing.
Yeah. So, if you're looking for the love or the meat, either way, you could check it
out. I had the fucking link for it. I don't know what happened to it. It's real. Oh, Love Finders with 2 R's and a Z.com.
Gotta get there. Some other things I love a fly that runs a bar full of frogs. I mean, just so subversive. That area that Rick keeps all the people that he refuses to kill in some sort of goo that gives them their, personal fantasies or whatever, their wants and desires. With the post-credit scene, callback as well, the good stuff. And then finally, a subtle bit, as whatever partner Summer's with. Oh my gosh, the doors here are so loud, by the way, guys. But Summer's trying to run away with one of the people from the app, the person that busted in on the hot air balloon, and she runs to the hot air balloon basket like they're gonna leave in the hot air balloon, and they just kind of like oh no, what am I thinking? Of course not. Why would we leave in this? That just had me going. I really like that.
that hot air balloon woman Oh my gosh.
picking her toenails on the air.
It's so gross. It's so gross. I hate looking at my own feet and cleaning my own feet. So that's just extra disgusting to me.
Extra disgusting. One final bit for you is the kid that was literally just folded in half, riding in a stroller at 11 o'clock at a Disney resort, directly in front of me, because they were just passed out while their parents pushed them around a Disney hotel. Yeah, guys, appreciate you guys listening. Sorry, I am, not in my normal sorts, but Brandon, you're doing a great job, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Thank you, Travis, and you enjoy the rest of your time at the Disney Resort and Hotel.
Yes, I'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye. All right. Okay. That was that. That was that. Wow. We did it. Travis and I. Yeah, the thing that I like most about that little clip of pre-recording Travis and then talking to Travis is that it really highlights that I need somebody to play off of. It's so much better with Travis. The synergy. It's synergistic effects. Everybody knows synergistic effects. That's fine. Okay. Next, here's my favorite bits. One, glue. That thing fucking killed me. And then Rick and Morty, or Jerry and Morty, is that something he did before? No, he never did that. I died laughing last night as I'm trying not to fall asleep here so late on the Eastern Seaboard. That's one of the things. The other one, when Tony's in heaven and Dan Harmon's poop god comes out of the toilet. It's like, you rang? I'm pooping too. And he just starts doing like a weird little ditty dance and splashing water all over the place. I thought that was great. The Space Beverly Hillbillies, that after the secretary over at Tony's office saying that Tony died on Space Mount Everest, and then Rick saying, "Don't eat the chocolates, don't drink the coffee. You'll be like Beverly Hillbillies, a bubbling crude, if you know what I mean, a Texas tea," and her being like, "I don't get those references." Like, well, go watch Space Beverly Hillbillies so you can get my jokes. I loved it, and I also realized that maybe I'm old, that I understand those references myself. Good. And then finally, the ad wall defeating the app. I know from personal experience that if I have any kind of app that has an ad on it, I'm like, all right, well, I'm done with this. That's why I prefer Game Pass. Brought to you by Apple. For a mere $5.99 a month, you can get unlimited games to play on your Apple iOS device. That's right, Game Pass. Okay. And that is that. I want to. There's so much more to talk about. I would love to talk so much more about this episode, but I don't want to bore you with just a singular voice. I want to point out background art, amazing. The planet that Rick goes to take a dump, take a shit, his Game of Thrones is just they do such a wonderful job on it. Ryan Elder with the music, he does a great job. The final scene, not the stinger after credits, but the final scene where Rick is sitting on the toilet, all the holograms are looking at him, the king of shit crown going on top of his head. That is such a great scene, because the music that Elder puts together, the cheering, the excitement of the holograms making fun of Rick, who they think is Tony. It's such a tonally dissonant scene, because Rick himself is so upset that his kind of quasi friend is dead, but he built this for Tony. He put so much effort into Tony, to kind of like talk shit about him, but like talk shit like you would talk shit to a friend, like, hey Travis, you're not here on the podcast. You suck. I don't know. That was a weird insult, but it's a compliment. That's what Rick was trying to do with Tony, and just the like kind of triumphant music that goes with it. I just it tore me up on the second time watching. The first time I was kind of like, oh man, that sucks. But the second time, I looked over at my wife Chelsea and like, don't look at me. Don't look at me. These aren't tears. I'm just chopping onions. I'm making a lasagna. For one, that is a 6 Degrees of Jermaine Clement reference. Taika Waititi. All right. So that's the episode. That's us talking about this episode. Again, there are so many more things to talk about. I would recommend going and reaching out to the Adult Swim podcast. They have a companion podcast with a bunch of interviews from artists, the director Jacob Hare, and then the writer Waldron. Ryan Elder talks about it too. Go out there, listen to that, and get a lot of insight to the episode. But do me a favor. If you have any thoughts, if anything jumped out at you as I was busily rambling on to myself, head over to Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, Facebook.com, Rick and Morty Podcast, or send us an email, rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts were. Love to hear them. Love to comment on them. And that reminds me, there's a little bit extra we have to do. It's listener suggestions and shortouts. That's right. First up, over on Twitter, at Steve Chargualaf. Season 4, Episode 2 of Rick and Morty is another great one. That app fiasco is straight comedy, LMAO. Not the band. Yet realizing Rick's inner turmoil of loneliness. Thanks for the laughs and somber reality. At Welsh Harles 88. Man, really feeling for Rick in season 4. True that. He's going on his own adventures, and Morty's going on his own adventures. Travis mentioned this in the Twitch chat, which I guess I could shout him out in the Twitch chat portion of this show. But it's something he said. I've seen a lot in Reddit where they start at the family dinner table, and then they end up kind of going on their weird split adventures, and I wonder if that's something that's going to keep going for the rest of season 4. Goran93, he writes, I've noticed that both of these episodes have Rick and Morty doing separate things. I wonder if this will continue to be a pattern. Sorry, I jumped on your line, Goran. I apologize on that. I too wonder if that will be a pattern, obviously, because I said that before I read your tweet. But if we look at the preview for next episode, the one crew over the Kruko's nest, it looks to be a heist-esque episode where Rick and Morty are together. So this might be one of those episodes where they aren't separate. They are doing a classic Rick and Morty adventure. So it'll be interesting to see. Also directed by our friend of the show, Brian Jordan Newton, at Dark King Zorro on Twitter if you're interested. Okay, D Hazel 31 writes, in the most indirect of ways, this episode showed just how deeply Rick cares for people and how hurt his is over the loss of a past love. 100%. Mentioned the friendships thing a little bit earlier. I think he yearns for companionship. I think he has demonstrated himself to be a lonely person and character to the audience, right? Maybe not to everyone else that he associates with the show, Morty, Beth, Jerry. He doesn't show that to everybody else, but we know something that those characters diegetic to the show don't know, and that he is a damaged kind of person. That's 2 episodes in a row that we see a side of him like that. I wonder how it will look going forward. Hopefully it's not too depressing. I saw a comment in Reddit saying that they think maybe we're getting set up for just an extraordinarily tragic thing based off of comments that Harmon made in the after show for Edge of Tomorty with Rick can die, but I'm not going to tell you how. So kind of setting something up for that. Okay. Let's move on to Twitch chat. I mentioned Travis. He's there. He's supporting me from afar. There's a joke there, I'm pretty sure. Instagram. This isn't necessarily related to the show, but I just wanted to give a shout out to @Podcasts Story Maker. Can't wait for tonight's episode. This was sent to us before the last episode was aired, but I just thought it'd be quirky to include him in this. We do have one review before I leave for the night. It is from, oh my god, this user's name, Daff V Duck Cool Man is cool. That's the name of the review. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's titled "Solid Start for Season 4. I love listening to these guys. Great stuff for the last 2 years. Hope they keep it going." That is a weird name, and then very well written review. So good on you, Daff V Duck Cool Man. You did it, and we appreciate you leaving us a review. And as a matter of fact, we appreciate every single person who listens to the show, who's rated, who interacts with us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. I know this is just me, Brandon Cruz, talking to you without Travis, but I can speak for both of us that you mean everything to us and this show, and to all of the creators, the artists, directors, writers who make the show. They don't necessarily listen to Interdimensional RSS, but I know that they appreciate you reaching out to them and telling them how much it means to bring laughter and joy into your lives for at least 5 episodes every 2 years. So with that in mind, hit us up. We're at Twitter, Rick and Morty Pod, Instagram, Rick and Morty Podcast, and then rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of the episode, if we missed anything, if you want us to explore anything more in future episodes. And I think that's it. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you again, everyone, for the solo episode, the only solo episode we've done in the entire run of this the podcast. I am Brandon Cruz, and by God, this is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. Holy hell. Holy hell. I did it, Travis. You are the only one watching in the stream, and good on you for that. Maybe I'll just, I got an idea. Now. I got an idea.
You reached Travis. I can't get to the phone right now, but if you leave your name and number, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Hey, that's Travis's voicemail.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Travis, this is Brandon Cruz, and we just recorded a podcast. Good on you, us. All right, see you later. Bye. That was so good. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. And then okay, well, see you later. See you later. I have to find OBS to do this. Boom. Bye.